the stillness of night, when the world outside becomes nothing more than a distant breath, you begin to hear something, not noise, but a gentle calling from within. Everything you've ever tried to hold on to, your identity, your memories, your past, the name you used to define yourself, now begins to dissolve, piece by piece. But do not be afraid, for as Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and sometimes to become yourself. You must first learn how to disappear. In this final part of the journey, we return to the beginning, to the source, where the river merges with the sea and the small self dissolves into the whole. You will learn to release the old stories, free yourself from your own history, and realize that freedom is not found in holding on, but in letting go. Tonight, you do not need to seek answers, nor prove anything. Just listen. Breathe deeply, and let the walls around your soul begin to fade. Because perhaps peace is not found at the end of the road, but in the very moment you stop, surrender to the rhythm of the universe, and remember, you were never lost. You have only been finding your way home. Imagine a river returning to the sea. It doesn't resist. It doesn't cry out. It doesn't try to cling to its old banks. It simply releases itself, softly and quietly, flowing back to where it once began. That journey is not an ending, but a dissolution, a homecoming. And just like the human soul, after endless wandering through the landscapes of life, it longs to return to its source, to the place where there are no longer boundaries between self and universe, between I and all. Jung once wrote, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. Within every chaos lies a hidden order, and within the seeming dissolution of all things hides a perfect return." The life of a human being is much like that of a river, beginning as a drop of rain, gathering into a stream, flowing across lands, gliding and curving, and finally opening itself to the vast ocean. Many call that the end, but Jung would say it is a return, a rejoining with the greater order to which we've always belonged. We fear dissolving. We fear losing our trace, being forgotten, or ceasing to be ourselves when we merge with the infinite. But if you look closely, that fear is only the illusion of the ego, the small part of you that clings to separation. The river has never feared disappearing into the sea, because it knows it does not vanish. It becomes the sea. Jung believed that human beings, like nature itself, follow the same principle, the whole within each part, and each part within the whole. Within every soul lives the echo of the universe, and within the universe flows the continuation of every soul. When we dare to release the boundaries, we do not disappear, we expand. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean, watching the waves rise and fall. Each wave is born and breaks, yet none truly die. They simply return to the sea, to the place they have always belonged. Life is the same. We come, we go, we love, we lose, and we return, not in circles of repetition, but in rhythms of merging. Perhaps that is why the sea brings such peace, because deep down, we recognize ourselves in it, not as a separate being, but as the endless current of life itself. As Jung once said, the psyche is not of today, it was ever and ever will be. The soul doesn't belong to the present moment, it has always existed, and always will. We need not fear being forgotten. For in forgetting, we are remembered more deeply, not by name, but by essence. When a person departs, they do not truly vanish. They become wind, light, memory, the breath of another. They return to the cycle of life, like water rising as vapor, then falling again as rain. Each drop, each breath is a reminder that nothing truly leaves us. Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, that deep realm of the human spirit where all souls meet. In that space, there is no separation. Joy and sorrow, memory and meaning all flow together into an infinite spiritual ocean. When you let go, you do not lose yourself. You simply return to that ocean, to the vastness that has never been apart from you. Perhaps that is why those who have found peace carry a quiet light in their eyes. They no longer fear loss because they understand there's nothing to lose. Every time we dissolve, in deep sleep, in a silent pause, or in the final death, it is simply another journey home. To be forgotten is to return to the ocean from which you arose. To be forgotten is not an ending. It is a return to the source of all souls. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel your heartbeat slow, your breath merging with the air around you. Every cell in your body was once stardust, once ocean water, once light in the great expanse. You are not alone. You are part of something far greater than the mind can comprehend. Sometimes peace does not come from seeking more, but from daring to let go. When the river stops resisting, it finds the sea. When a person stops clinging to the self, they find the universe within. And tonight, amid the wind and the stillness, perhaps you're standing at the threshold between river and sea, between the self and the whole. You don't need to hurry. You don't need to understand. Just breathe. Let yourself drift gently, slowly, quietly, like water returning to its source. Because in the moment you surrender to the flow, you will see you were never apart from it. You were never lost. You have only been coming home. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. And within the seeming chaos of life itself, there is a serene order guiding you, not forward, not backward, but inward, into the ocean at the center of your being. Let tonight be the night you no longer resist anything. No need to hold on, no need to strive. Imagine yourself as water, soft, silent, dissolving into the breath of the sea. Because sometimes peace is not in existing, but in becoming one. And when you know how to merge, you have already found your way home. In the vastness of the ocean, where wind and waves know no borders, the river has ceased to be itself. It has no name, no form, no distinction between this is me and that is the sea. And yet, in its dissolution, it is not lost, it returns. Carl Jung once wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. There is a hidden harmony even in the very moment we seem to disappear." Merging is not a loss. It is the journey inward toward the essence of what we are, where every boundary is but an illusion built from the fear of isolation. Like the river, human beings live within their own banks, identity, roles, relationships, memories, the things we call me. At first, these roles help us find our shape in the world, but over time, they become the very walls that confine us. We fear letting them go, believing that without them, we will be empty. But Jung once said, The self is not something one finds. It is something one creates. The self is not discovered. It is continuously created, meaning it was never fixed and thus can never truly be lost. Look closely at your own life. How many times have you clung to a title? The dutiful child, the successful person, the one who once loved someone until you forgot who you were beyond those labels. Relationships, status, memories, all are mirrors, but no mirror can ever capture the true face of the soul. Like a drop of water fearing that it will disappear when it meets the sea. Only when it dissolves does it realize it has been the sea all along. Maybe returning is not losing. It's remembering where you came from. Perhaps returning is not about losing, but about remembering where you have always belonged. Deep within. The human soul longs for that feeling of belonging, the sense of being whole and undivided. Every loneliness, every heartbreak, every wound of separation stems from the illusion that we are cut off. From others, from the world, from our own source. But as Jung wrote, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed. Each true connection changes us both. A meeting does not destroy the self, it expands it. Perhaps you have known a relationship that made you dissolve, not from pain, but from connection so deep that you forgot where you ended and the other began. You felt, you empathized, you understood until all boundaries vanished. That is the most sacred kind of merging, what Jung called the union of opposites. It is not losing yourself, but widening yourself enough to embrace another aspect of existence. And yet, modern humans live in isolation disguised as connection. We post on social media to be seen, talk endlessly to fill the silence, build the best version of ourselves to avoid facing the emptiness within. But only in stillness do boundaries begin to melt. At night, when the noise fades, when there are no roles left to play, the soul finally exhales. Imagine yourself sitting by the ocean. No name, no role, no story to tell. Only you, your breath, and the sound of the waves. In that moment, you do not need to be someone. You simply are, in perfect harmony with the space around you. This is what Jung called the self, not the small ego, but the sacred center where consciousness and the unconscious meet. Here, you are no longer a person living in the world. You are life itself, alive through your form. In the Red Book, Jung wrote, "To confront a person with his shadow is to show him his own light. To face your shadow is to reveal your light. When you let go of your roles, your titles, your past, you also release the shadow they create. The fear of not being enough, not being seen, not being loved. And only then can your true light emerge. A drop of water does not fear dissolving, because it knows it was never apart from the sea. So too with us. When you let go of your story of I, you do not vanish. You become the whole. You remain, but no longer confined by the narrow walls of who you think you are. Breathe slowly. Inhale. You are part of the world. Exhale. The world is part of you. And slowly, the boundaries blur. Everything begins to merge, your heartbeat with the rhythm of the waves, your breath with the air, your thoughts dissolving into space. You do not need to overcome life. You need only to merge with it. Carl Jung once said, Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration. Wholeness is not found by rejection, but by union. When we allow ourselves to dissolve into the whole, we do not lose ourselves. We rediscover the part of our soul that has long been forgotten, the quiet, gentle, oceanic part. In this merging, we are freed from the weight of who we must be, what we must achieve, or what we must become. Life returns to its truest nature, a current, effortless and unforced. Let tonight, amid breath and silence, be the moment you feel yourself dissolving, not into nothingness, but into everything. Not forgotten, but embraced. Maybe returning is not losing, it's remembering where you came from. Perhaps returning is not an ending, but the beginning of a gentler, deeper, freer way of being. There are no boundaries left to hold you, no shores, no walls, no name to stand between you and the world. Everything has dissolved into a stillness, transparent, soft, invisible, as if the soul were gliding freely through the universe, unburdened by the gravity of fear or memory. In that vast quiet, you are no longer someone who must be recognized. You are simply being, breathing, present, part of an eternal rhythm. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, but to become. One must first dare to let go of all the layers once mistaken for the self." In the chapters before, you have shed your roles, your titles, even the boundaries between yourself and the world. Now, there is no longer a need to search, but there is nowhere left to go, nothing left to prove. Because in a moment you stop searching, you have already come home. This home has no walls, no doors, no address. It exists nowhere and everywhere. It is the home of the soul, the place of origin, where there is no judgment, no separation between human and cosmos. Here, you are no longer becoming, you simply are. Imagine yourself standing in endless space, surrounded by a sky made of light. No sound, no form, only perfect silence. There, you no longer ask, "Who am I?" because the question has dissolved into its own answer. There is no I and world anymore, only we, one breath moving through everything. In memories, dreams, reflections. Jung wrote, "The psyche is not of today. It was ever and ever will be. The soul does not belong to time. It was not born today, nor will it vanish tomorrow. It has always been, in every breath, every dream, every tear, every flicker of awareness. It is the original home, one you don't need a key to return to, only the courage to release what no longer belongs." We often mistake coming home for returning to a place, but the true home isn't found in the physical world. It's a feeling, the feeling of being wholly yourself, without masks, without performance, without proof. Each time you find peace in silence, you are already stepping through the invisible doorway of that home. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Feel the air brushing your skin, the warmth spreading softly through your chest. That is not just breathing. It is a conversation between you and the universe. With every inhale, you are being embraced. With every exhale, reminded that you have never been lost. Jung wrote, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration. Wholeness comes not from rejecting parts of yourself, but by uniting them. To return home, you need not abandon anything. not even the parts you once wished to forget. The true home of the soul does not exile the dark. It opens its arms to both light and shadow, allowing them to breathe together, to merge, to become one. As we grow older, we build walls of honor, of identity, of the fears we call responsibility. We think they protect us, but in truth, they only obscure the view. One day, when those walls begin to crack and the light seeps in, you will understand. Freedom is not in building more, but in daring to live in a home without doors. Such a home needs no protection, for it cannot be harmed. It needs no locks, for nothing can trespass. It exists in every heartbeat, in every breath you take. It is the state of a soul that has realized safety was never out there. Peace has always lived within. Perhaps your whole life has been a search for love, success, meaning, recognition, only to arrive one night in the stillness between heartbeats and see, everything you were seeking has been seeking you. They were never lost, only waiting for you to open your heart to feel them again. Sleep. You are not lost. You are simply returning home. Sleep now. You are not lost. You are merely coming home, not to a place, but to a state of being where you no longer need to earn love, to perfect yourself to be accepted, or to be strong just to exist. There is only you, raw, whole, and enough. In the Red Book, Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." The home without walls is the space of awakening, where you no longer dream of another place, because you have realized you are already inside it. Now, let your awareness slow down, like a lake growing still. Let this voice fade. Let every sound around you blend together, the music, the wind, your breath, until everything becomes one single motion, gentle, silent, and complete. In that space, you are no longer the traveler searching for the path. You are the path, no longer the questioner, but the answer itself. No longer lost, but the very light that guides you home. And as you return to your source, you begin to see the self you held so tightly was never truly yours. As you return to the source, you will see the self you clung to so hard was never really yours. It was only a garment the soul wore for the journey. Now, you can lay it down and smile, because you are home. The home without walls, forever open, forever within your heart. In the silence of a soul that has already come home, a question rises softly. If you are no longer the roles, the memories, or the names the world once gave you, then who are you? The question has no answer in words, only in stillness. A stillness deep enough to reveal that perhaps the I we believe to be real is only a thin wisp of smoke, existing only as long as we keep believing in it. Close your eyes. The person you think you are, where is it now? In the darkness behind your eyelids, can you touch that face? Can you see the name you carry? Or is it only a stream of thoughts, drifting, flickering with memories and emotion? Carl Jung once said, "The self is not something one finds, it is something one creates. The self is not found, it is made. It is the result of thousands of moments, countless roles, and the imprints of memory etched into the mind. But if it is created, does it truly exist? Or is it an illusion consciousness builds to keep from feeling empty? Think of the moon. It glows brightly across the night sky, yet its light is not its own. It only reflects the light of the sun. So too does the human ego. It doesn't shine with its own energy, but reflects the light of the past, of memories, of what others have said we are. And when the past fades, when memory dims, that light disappears, but the sky remains vast, quiet, nameless. Perhaps the deepest part of us is not the I, but the space behind the word I. That place does not speak or think. It only watches. It feels neither joy nor sorrow, victory nor loss. It simply is, like the sky that welcomes every passing cloud. In the Red Book, Jung wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." The I we see each day, the self of images, stories, and resumes, is the dream. It helps us move through the world, but it is not our true nature. To awaken is to turn inward, to see the dreamer, and to realize that even the dreamer is part of a greater dream called life. We often confuse I with what I think, but thoughts are not being. They are the ripples of consciousness. You are not your thoughts, not your past, not your name. You are the one who is watching them all. Imagine sitting beside a river, watching leaves float by. Each leaf is a thought, a memory, an emotion. Sometimes you reach out, clinging to one, but the current always carries it away. And then you see, you are neither the leaf nor the water. You are the witness. In memories, dreams, reflections. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to become oneself, one must first see that most of the time, we do not live as ourselves. We live as a story we've been telling. A story written from beliefs, fears, compliments, wounds, and borrowed dreams. There are days when your I feels strong, unshakable. Other days, that same I feels fragile, uncertain, lost. So which one is the real you? The answer, both and neither. Because the true self is not a shape or a version, but the energy moving between them. Jung saw the ego as a bridge, not a destination. It helps us experience the world, but must never become our cage. In Psychological Types, he wrote, "Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. Every obsession is a chain, even the addiction to our own self-image. For when we cling too tightly to who we think we are, we stop the soul from changing, from expanding into the whole. And maybe, in this quiet night, you can feel everything you once called I beginning to fade. Your name, your past, your identity, your memories falling away like dust brushed from the skin. Do not be afraid. Nothing is lost. You are simply witnessing the core that remains, the nameless, silent essence that existed before any memory began. Listen to the voice within, the one that speaks without words. It does not ask, 'Who am I?' It whispers simply, 'I am.' Nothing more. No title, no description, only pure existence." Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. To accept oneself is indeed terrifying. It means standing bare before your being, without any mirror to reflect you, without any borrowed light to hide behind. Yet it is there, in that nakedness, that freedom begins, like the moon ceasing to borrow the sun's light. And learning to glow from within, you no longer need the borrowed radiance of memory, of praise, of the past. You are already luminous. Let tonight be the night you stop trying to prove who you are. Breathe deeply, slowly. The I will begin to dissolve, not in loss, but in merging. And in that stillness, you will see you were never someone. You are the space through which all someones come and go. Not the wave, but the ocean. Not the dream, but the one who dreams. This is the place where I dissolves and being begins. In the stillness where the self begins to dissolve, something delicate emerges. We are not a single being, but thousands of versions of ourselves, constantly being born and fading away with every breath. The I of this morning is not the same as the I of last night. And the one reading these words will no longer be the same by the time the final line ends. Each moment is a single frame of consciousness and life, a film made of millions of such frames. Carl Jung once said, "The self is not something one finds, it is something one creates." Every second, we redraw our face through emotion, through choice, through what we let go and what we hold on to. Yet in this act of creation, we carry a strange obsession, the need to be consistent, to remain the same, to be someone forever. We fear change, believing that to change is to betray ourselves. But the truth is, there is no fixed self to betray, only a current that must keep shifting to stay alive. Identity is a movement, not memory. Identity is not what you remember, it is what you are becoming. A person is not defined by who they once were, but by their capacity to continue evolving. Jung called this process individuation, the soul's journey to reconcile the conscious with the unconscious, the old with the new, the fearful with the awakening. Not to become perfect, but to become truer. Imagine a room full of mirrors. Each one reflects a different angle of you. Morning light shows you gentle. Evening light shows you tired. Night shadows reveal you as quiet and deep. No reflection is wrong, and none are complete. They are all temporary glimpses of a being in constant motion. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." We cannot awaken without pain, because every change requires a shedding of the old. Like a snake leaving behind its skin along the path it travels. But if the snake refuses to shed, it will suffocate. Likewise, if we refuse to change, the soul will shrink within its own past. You can see this truth in everyday life. The people you once loved, hated, admired, all belong to versions of you that no longer exist. We often look back on our former selves with regret or shame, forgetting that they were the foundation on which this present you stands. No self was ever wrong, only unfinished. Perhaps you've stood at a crossroads, where the person you were and the one you are becoming pull you in opposite directions. One wants to move forward, the other to return. That is the space between selves, the uncomfortable, sacred gap where transformation takes place. In that space, there is no identity, no certainty, only becoming. Like a seed cracking open to let the sprout emerge, you must break to be born again. Jung once wrote in The Undiscovered Self, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul." We fear the space, the silence, the moments when we don't know who we are. But it is in that not knowing that the soul begins to speak. Imagine someone standing on the shore, watching the waves erase their footprints. In that instant, they no longer know who they are. A wanderer, a dreamer, or simply a breath merging with the wind. But instead of fearing it, they smile. Because they understand. They don't need to know. They just need to be. And let each wave draw a new shape. It's okay to change. You are meant to. It's okay to let go, to shift, to begin again. Because that is what you were made to do. In change, you may lose people, places, and feelings once familiar, but that is not loss. It is expansion. The old does not vanish. It becomes the soil that nourishes what is new. Tonight, let go of the idea that you must remain the same. Let each breath be a new version of you. Inhale, you receive. Exhale, you release. And with every breath, the old softens, making space for the next becoming. In psychology and religion, Jung wrote, "Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. Only paradox can hold life's fullness. You are both who you were and who you are not anymore. You are changing, and yet you are still you. Both truths coexist because paradox is the pulse of existence. Let your mind grow still, like a calm lake. Don't try to hold the water, just let it flow. In every ripple, you are reborn. In every breath, you are becoming gentler, freer, closer to your essence. By now, you may see there is no fixed I, only the endless motion of life wearing your shape for a while. Every change is not a betrayal of yourself. It is your soul saying thank you for still daring to grow, for still daring to become. So relax. Hold on to nothing. Each you is just a moment, and every moment is sacred. Tonight, you don't need to find your true self. You need only accept that you are always being reborn. Because, as Jung once wrote, life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. Life truly begins when you understand you can begin again at any time. There comes a moment in the inner journey when every version of the self begins to crack, as though the mirror of consciousness can no longer hold the weight of all that you have ever been. You look into it and see thousands of fractured reflections. The one who smiled, the one who wept, the one who loved, the one who feared. They are all you. And yet, none of them are truly you. Because the mirror never reflected truth. It only reflected light. And you are the light itself. In the Red Book, Jung wrote, "The soul becomes bright when it no longer reflects, but radiates. The soul becomes luminous when it stops reflecting and begins to shine." All our lives, we've been taught to look into mirrors, to find who we are, to confirm our worth, to see ourselves through the gaze of others. But that mirror was never real. It is a collage, built from memory, from what others said about us, from images society impressed upon our minds. The longer we stare, the further we drift from the true light within. In the previous chapter, you felt the space between selves. Now, we take one more step, beyond the mirror that has held the soul captive. This is not destruction, it is awakening. Imagine someone standing in a room filled with mirrors. Everywhere he turns, he sees himself endlessly repeating, distorted, overlapping. One day, he picks up a stone and throws it. The mirror shatters. At first, he feels fear. for he can no longer find the familiar face. But then, among the fragments, he notices something extraordinary. The light is no longer trapped in reflections. It floods the room, gleaming on every shard. He hasn't lost his image. He has become the light itself. Maybe you were never a person, but an experience the universe is having. Maybe you were never a fixed being, but an experience the universe is living, a current of energy capable of feeling, of loving, of shifting forms to understand itself. What you call I is only a temporary prism through which light passes. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. We do not awaken by dreaming of brightness, but by bringing awareness to the dark. To break the mirror is not to reject what once was, but to see that both light and shadow come from the same source. The darkness in the glass never threatened the light. It was the background that allowed it to appear. We so often stare into mirrors, searching for a perfect version of ourselves. Strong enough, good enough, worthy enough. But that longing blinds us to our truth. We were not born to be perfect, but to experience completely, to hold the broken pieces, the shadows, the mistakes, the tenderness. Jung called this the integration of the shadow, the union of light and darkness, where the soul is no longer divided. Think of the times you've looked into a mirror, in the tired light of morning, the loneliness of night, or those moments when you stared deep into your own eyes and didn't recognize who you saw. In those moments, your image was trembling, and your soul was inviting you to look beyond the surface, into what cannot be reflected. Rest now. Let the self dissolve. You are safe in the space between everything. Rest. Let the self melt like ice into water. You are safe in the quiet space between all things, where there is no name, no form, only presence. Jung wrote, "The ego cannot adapt to the boundless." Well, the ego cannot survive infinity, for it was made to define, to divide, to name. But the soul belongs to the infinite. It doesn't fear dissolution, because dissolving is its way home. Close your eyes. Do not search for your image in the mind. Let the mirror break. Let each shard of memory, each role, each label fall away. The you the world once knew, the one who tried, who failed, who longed, is now only glass glittering under light. Nothing is lost. Everything has simply returned to its true form, light. In memories, dreams, reflections. Jung wrote, "In each of us there's another whom we do not know. Within every person lives another, unseen, unknown." Perhaps it is that part of you stirring now, the part that no longer looks, but is. There is nothing more frightening than not knowing who you are, and nothing more liberating. Because when you are no longer someone, you become everything. The light within you does not need a mirror to exist. It continues to spread, to touch, to illuminate, a quiet radiance belonging to the sky itself. Trust this. You do not need reflection to be seen. Jung wrote in the archetypes and the collective unconscious. The individual is not only a single, separate being, but also the whole living system. Each person is not merely a self-contained entity, but the entire living system breathing with the universe. Now, let this voice fade, like a breeze moving softly through the night. No more I, no more you. Only presence expanding, a gentle current of light dissolving into space. All mirrors shatter, all images fade, but the light remains, tender, complete, and free. And when the self fades, the past loosens because history only exists in those who remember it. When the self dissolves, the past releases its grip, for history exists only in those who still remember. Now, there is nothing you need to remember. Rest. Let the light guide you toward the stillness, where there are no reflections left, only truth. There is a strange kind of stillness that follows the dissolving of the self, as if within that emptiness, the echoes of the past finally become audible. Unhealed memories, silent figures still lingering in the corners of the mind. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." At the deepest level of the soul, the past never truly disappears. It only sleeps, waiting to be seen. Every civilization carries ghosts, but ghosts fade when they are seen. Every civilization bears its ghosts, but those ghosts vanish the moment they are acknowledged. And so do we. Each of us carries the phantoms of memory, the wounds, regrets, and unsaid words that haunt us like dust clinging to an old wall. They weigh on the spirit, cloud our direction, yet the instant we dare to look at them, the light of awareness dispels the darkness of obsession. Imagine an ancient city buried beneath the sand. Centuries pass. Its streets, its temples, its stone statues all sink into silence. No one remembers its name, yet the wind still brushes its ruins, whispering fragments of memory. Human beings are like that city. We carry the ruins of old civilizations within us, dreams unfinished, promises forgotten, love left behind. We try to cover them with the sand of maturity, but nothing is ever truly gone. It only sleeps, waiting to be awakened by courage. Jung once wrote in Modern Man in Search of a Soul, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." We fear facing the past because we believe it will burn us again. But only by looking straight at it does the fire cease to consume and begin to warm. The past does not exist to punish us. It exists to teach us how to understand, to forgive, and to release. People often wear the memories like armor. Every scratch tells a story. Every patch of rust is a remembrance. We fear taking it off, believing that without it, we'll be too exposed. But over time, that armor grows heavy enough to keep us from walking forward. As Jung wrote, we are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become. Look back, and perhaps you'll notice you've been carrying stories that no longer serve you. A love that never closed, a mistake that still echoes, a chance you never took. Each time you revisit them, they pull you back to a place where time has stopped. But life doesn't stop. It moves, reshapes, and invites you to move with it. You cannot walk lightly while dragging yesterday behind you. In the Red Book, Jung wrote, "You must let the old go so that the new may come." No one can walk toward the light while still bowing to the stones of the past. The paradox is this: only when we accept that it happened can we be free of it. The past doesn't need to be erased, only acknowledged as part of the whole. Imagine walking along a shoreline. Each wave erases the footprints left before it, then pulls away. No matter how deep you press, the sea will still wash it clean. Time is that sea, impartial, patient, infinite. It keeps no favorites, and it forgets no one. Everything is washed, everything returns to the flow. Deep within, you may still carry the image of who you once were. Someone stronger or more fragile. Someone who dreamed, who feared, who trusted, who broke. But if you listen closely, you'll realize that person is still here, simply wearing a new shape. All your past selves are sleeping within this breath, woven into every heartbeat, every pulse of blood. Jung believed that each human being is a river of time, carrying the past, the present, and the future at once. He wrote, "The psyche is timeless. It knows nothing of past and future. The soul does not live in chronology. It only experiences. The past ceases to exist the moment you stop reliving it. So tonight, if you feel the weight of memory pressing upon you, close your eyes and breathe. Imagine each fragment of the past slipping from your shoulders like small stones falling into the quiet sea. You do not need to forget, and you do not need to remember. You only need to let go. In the soft light of awareness, the ghosts of memory begin to fade, not because they are defeated, but because they are seen. You no longer have to fight them, because you understand. They were never your enemies, only the lost parts of you, finding their way home. Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Let that truth cradle you into the night, not as advice, but as a gentle remembering. You are not bound by what has been. You are the one walking out of the ancient city of your mind, brushing off the dust of memory and stepping forward, lighter, brighter, free, because the weight of the past only exists until you realize it was never a burden, only stepping stones leading you back to yourself. Breathe in, the dust settles. Breathe out, the ghosts fade. You are no longer defined by what happened. You are defined by your capacity to be reborn with every breath you take anew. The ghosts of memory do not vanish simply because we've seen them. They only change their form. At times, they soften, like faint mist on a morning mirror, no longer threatening, only reminding. But for light to pass through, the mirror must be cleared. So it is with us. Only when we learn to forget can we truly see ourselves. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. There's no awakening without pain." Yet Jung also implied that pain is not meant to be kept. It is meant to awaken. People remain trapped in memory not because they can't let go, but because they believe that forgetting would erase meaning. They fear that if they let go of grief, regret, or love long gone, they would also lose proof that they once lived deeply. But it is the clinging, not the forgetting, that keeps us from life as it unfolds now. Imagine someone holding a shard of glass in their hand. Once, it caught the light, a small treasure, radiant and precious. But if they grip it too tightly now, blood would spill between their fingers. We often do the same with our memories, holding them until they wound us with the very past we swore to preserve. In memories, dreams, reflections, Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That line is not a rejection of memory, but a redefinition. Memory is a seed. not a chain. It fulfills its purpose only when planted, when it disappears beneath the soil to let something new grow. Think of a still lake. Each memory is a pebble falling into it. The more pebbles you throw, the more ripples form, and the harder it becomes to reflect the sky. The art of forgetting is the art of letting the lake settle again, not by fishing each stone out, but by ceasing to throw more in. Sometimes, healing does not mean erasing memory, but taking away its power to rule you. Let it fade. You are not your history. Let it fade. You are not the sum of your history. There are things that once mattered so much, you thought life would be empty without them. But time has proven that emptiness is not absence, it is space. Forgetting doesn't erase meaning. It makes room for new life to enter. In the modern world, we are obsessed with remembering. We record, archive, replay, repeat. We stuff the present full of the past until it grows weary. To forget, then, becomes an act of courage, not apathy, but self-compassion. Jung once emphasized in The Undiscovered Self, the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. The greatest weight a soul carries is the unlived life, not only of parents, but of its own unfulfilled versions, its abandoned dreams, its unfinished stories. The art of forgetting is to release what can no longer continue, so that what can still live may blossom. Picture yourself before a fogged mirror. The surface is blurred, clouded by breath and time. You lift your hand and wipe it gently. Slowly, your reflection appears, not as someone trapped by the past, but as a soul meeting itself in the present. Forgetting is not erasing, it is clearing. Each touch of awareness wipes the soul clean again. In Jung's world, forgetting is part of healing. The mind cannot hold infinite sorrow. It must empty itself, like a garden pruned for spring. The shadow must be accepted, not carried forever. Jung, the darkness within us is meant to be acknowledged, not dragged endlessly along. Perhaps you've lived through loops of memory, replaying the same story, repeating the same ache, as if time itself refused to move on. But you have changed. The one who remembers and the one who was remembered are no longer the same. To forget is not betrayal. It is recognition that the story has completed its circle. Listen to your breath. Inhale, receive, exhale, release. Even your body already knows the art of forgetting. No one keeps an old breath, for holding on is death. The mind must learn what the lungs already know, to let each thought come, go, and dissolve into silence. Jung once wrote, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. On this path, we meet ourselves over and over in countless forms. Every act of forgetting is not loss. It is the soul removing one mask to breathe again. Let everything become light, like vapor on a window pane. No need to erase, only to allow it to fade. For forgetting does not make you smaller. It makes you spacious, serene, whole. Tonight, let the excess memories drift away like dusk melting into wind. You need not remember. You need not forget. Simply allow fading to happen as a natural rhythm of life. Breathe in, clarity. Breathe out, the past. You no longer have to carry the burden of time. You are the one learning the art of forgetting, to see yourself at last through the clear and quiet eyes of your own soul. There comes a moment of deep stillness in the act of letting go. A moment when memory no longer needs to be erased, but simply dissolves, like smoke after the fire has burned out, not because you forced yourself to forget, but because the soul has finally understood it does not need to carry what has already turned to ash. The dust of the past falls softly into the earth, and from that soil, new life begins. Carl Jung once wrote in the Red Book, "The new thing always comes when we have freed ourselves from the old. The new can only arrive when the old has been released. Forgetting is not an ending. It is an opening, like a flame. The human spirit never truly dies. It only changes form, turning into ash, into soil, into seed, into light, becoming something else entirely. Forgetting is the tenderness of the universe. It does not force, it doesn't erase, it transforms. Like the fading warmth of an extinguished candle. Its heat still lingers in the air. Nothing is lost. It merely changes frequency. Every memory, whether of pain or beauty, is reborn in silence, becoming nourishment for the soul in ways you cannot yet see. The future begins only when the past is released. This is not a demand to rush, but an invitation, a slow breath, a permission to loosen your hold. You cannot step into morning while gripping the hand of night, but open your fingers, even slightly, and the light will begin to slip through. Jung once said, "Without death, there can be no rebirth." This truth belongs not only to the body, but to the spirit. Every time you release a memory, forgive someone, or stop blaming yourself, something within you is reborn. It is not loss. It is the natural rhythm of existence. Ash feeding earth, earth birthing seeds, seeds blooming into life. Imagine a forest after a fire. At first, there is only black soil and silence. But beneath that stillness, seeds wait. They need the fire to open. They need the ash to nourish. They know that death is not destruction, but the hand of renewal. Your soul is like that forest. Sometimes it must burn in order to return to its most fertile form. Breathe and let the old stories rest. Inhale, accept, exhale. Let the stories sleep. You no longer need to prove anything to your past. It has done its job. It taught you to love, to ache, to exist. Now it only wants to rest, and so do you. In memories, dreams, reflections, Jung wrote, "My life is a story of the self-realization of the unconscious. Life itself is the unfolding of the unconscious, becoming aware of itself. Rebirth is not the effort to become someone new, but the quiet acceptance of everything you have ever been. No more resistance, no more repairing, no more running, only stillness, allowing life to breathe through you again. Perhaps now you understand that forgetting is not disappearance, it is returning. When the past lies peacefully at rest, the soul begins to move lightly once more, like a leaf caught in the first light of dawn, freed from the gravity of what cannot be changed. You begin to feel the gentleness of being, a state belonging not to the self, but to everything. Jung wrote, "The soul is partly in time and partly outside of time. And perhaps that is why, when you release, you do not vanish. You simply return to the timeless part of yourself. Rebirth needs no form, no plan. It only asks for a single deep breath and a silence wide enough for life to rearrange itself within you. Feel it now. Each breath is a new life, each heartbeat, a quiet affirmation that you are continuing, not as who you were, but as something brighter, softer, freer. You do not need to carry the stories. They are complete. If you listen closely, you'll hear a subtle music beneath your thoughts, a melody of continuity, where everything that once fell apart has come together again in harmony. No grief, no regret, only gratitude. You have nothing left to prove. But you don't need to prove that you've healed, endured, or changed. Your being is proof enough. The simple fact that you still breathe, still feel, still love, that is rebirth. Now, let this voice fade like the last light behind the hills. Let the past sleep. For only when history rests can the spirit move freely again, like a leaf in sunlight. No longer burdened by what was. You are simply the rhythm of life itself, dancing in this moment. Rebirth is not a new beginning. It is a remembering that you were never truly lost. You are simply coming home to the pure essence of your being, where time dissolves and everything that ever was melts into the light of peace. Now, breathe deeply. Let your mind fall like ash to the earth. No effort, no striving, only the quiet miracle of life sprouting once more from within you. Breathe and rest. You have traveled far enough. Now let the soul be still. Dawn always arrives softly, without noise, without announcement. Light does not fight the darkness. It simply spreads slowly, patiently, as if the world itself has finally grown ready to be released from the long night. Human beings are born to learn that same rhythm, the dance of release. Every breath is a teacher. Inhale to receive, exhale to let go. Each heartbeat is a small farewell, a reminder that nothing can be held forever. Every breath you take is a lesson in letting go. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What you resist continues to exist." Within that simple truth lies the secret of peace. The harder we cling, the tighter we are bound. The more we fear loss, the more we lose. Yet when we release, the world does not abandon us. It simply changes the way it stays. Letting go is not defeat. It is life's most natural gesture, like the pulse of a heart, the rise of a wave, the fall of a leaf. Imagine a golden leaf leaving its branch. It doesn't struggle. It doesn't fight the wind. It only yields gracefully, not because its life is over, but because its purpose is complete. It has fed the tree, and now, by falling, it nourishes the soil. Everything belongs to a perfect circle where nothing is lost, only passed on. Jung called this the rhythm of transformation. Life never stops. It only changes shape. To cling is to block the river's natural flow. Just as a river cannot carry the waterfall and the ocean at once, we cannot hold everything we've had and still hope to be free. Maybe letting go is not giving up. It's giving space for life to flow again. Letting go is not surrender. It is an act of trust. We often believe letting go means losing people, memories, direction. But in truth, it is how we return what no longer serves us so that what awaits can find its way in. Notice your breath. Inhale, you meet life. Exhale, you give yourself back to it. In each breath, you learn how to give without losing, how to dissolve without disappearing. As Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And to become, one must release what no longer belongs. Modern life teaches us the opposite, to hold on, to expired relationships, empty work, outdated dreams. We fear emptiness, so we fill ourselves with memory and expectation. But the space we avoid is the very ground where renewal begins. A forest only flourishes after ash has fed its soil. The soul, too, grows fertile only when it lets go of dead roots. In memories, dreams, reflections, Jung wrote, "Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. Life begins when we stop collecting and start releasing. Until then, we only practice holding success, love, ambition. But there comes a moment when the soul simply knows. The hands must open for the heart to bloom. Letting go does not erase presence. It transforms it. Those who have left are not gone. They've moved inward, from form to memory, from sound to silence, from words to understanding. Everything you've loved still exists, just in a gentler shape. Let your mind learn from the leaf to fall without fearing the ground. For the ground is where everything begins again. Falling is not an ending. It is the promise of a new season. As Jung said, the new thing always comes when we have freed ourselves from the old. Letting go is, in truth, a dance, a rhythm between holding and releasing, between knowing and unknowing, between life and death. Your very body moves to this ancient choreography. The heart contracts, then opens. The lungs take in, then release. The eyes awaken, then close. The universe dances with you, day yielding to night, tides rising and falling, seasons circling in silence. Jung once wrote, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. There is design even in loss, order even in dissolution. The universe does not destroy without purpose. Each time something leaves your hands, something unseen forms to restore the balance. So allow yourself to release without fear, for nothing ever truly breaks. Everything merely returns to its rightful place." Tonight, as you breathe slowly and hear the wind outside, imagine yourself moving in rhythm with the cosmos. No effort, no control, only heartbeat, breath, and the quiet wonder of being alive. Let the old sounds fade. Let the images dissolve. Let the shoulds and musts drift away. You are not giving up. You are opening a path, not losing, moving, not ending, beginning again. Let the dance continue, softly, effortlessly, like leaves descending, like the breath that goes out and returns again. For only those who know how to release can truly belong to the flow of life. Breathe in, receive, breathe out, release. That is the oldest dance of the soul, and the only way to live fully in this eternal moment. Light always finds its way into places we believe it cannot reach. It needs no doors, no windows, only the smallest crack of acceptance. Human beings are the same. Every time we let go, even just a little, the light floods in, softening the weight of all we once carried. Letting go is the dance of life. Lightness, its reward. Life keeps changing. Jobs shift. Love fades and blooms again. Age leaves traces on the skin. Everything flows. Everything moves. Yet instead of flowing with it, we cling, define, resist. Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What we fight against stays alive." The more we try to remain the same, the deeper we sink into change. Look at a river. The water never argues with the rock. It simply flows around it, smoothing its edges until even the stone becomes soft. That is the wisdom of acceptance, not resignation, but the understanding that everything is doing its part. Water flows, wind blows, leaves fall, and humans learn how to live with impermanence. Perhaps you've had one of those days, work collapsing, someone leaving, plans unraveling. In those moments, the mind wants control, to fix, to hold, to reclaim. But control only distances us from what we seek most, peace. Jung said, we cannot change anything unless we accept it. Acceptance isn't stopping, it's the first movement that allows the current to find its way again. Try it now. Breathe in and breathe out slowly. Inhale, exhale. You are already enough. Inhale, welcoming life as it is. Exhale, letting your expectations dissolve into open air. In that rhythm, you realize you don't need to do anything to earn your right to exist. In memories, dreams, reflections, Jung wrote, the greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. The great problems of life are not solved. They are outgrown, which means instead of forcing answers, we learn to live with questions like the rain. We cannot fix it, but we can stand beneath it and let it wash away what no longer belongs. The lightness of being doesn't come from carrying less, but from no longer straining to carry. Everyone bears unseen weights, responsibilities, nostalgia, unfinished dreams. Yet if you pause, even for a second, and allow yourself not to be strong, you will hear a faint sound, the sigh of a soul set free. Stop resisting the flow and feel the relief in acceptance. We've long believed happiness comes from success, from achieving, but sometimes happiness is simply the release of the burden to be happy. The sky never tries to be clear, it just lets the wind move the clouds. Lightness is not the absence of pain, but the end of the war against it. It is the grace of knowing I cannot control the waves, but I can learn to surf. Jung once wrote in The Undiscovered Self, the pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. The mind swings between meaning and meaninglessness, not right and wrong. Peace begins here, when we stop demanding that life makes sense. For even in chaos, there is a rhythm. In disorder, a secret harmony we can only hear once we've grown still enough. Imagine standing beneath a tree in the late afternoon. The breeze moves softly. Sunlight dances through the leaves, scattering gold across your skin. There's nothing to do, nothing to think. The world continues even when you pause. That is the essence of being. Life doesn't need your control. It only asks for your presence. Jung once said, the soul becomes infinite when it surrenders. The soul expands when it surrenders, not in weakness, but in trust, believing the river knows its way to the sea, even when you cannot see it. Lightness is the most subtle form of courage, for it asks us to give up the illusion of control. The light-hearted are not those untouched by pain. They are the ones who can smile in the rain, nod at what they cannot change. Let your breath lead you back to this truth. You do not have to conquer life, only dissolve into it. Inhale, receive, exhale, release. Each breath like wind, like waves, like life itself moving through you. You don't need to become anyone else. You don't need to resist change. You only need to be still and present. For in that moment, you are already enough. Inhale, exhale. You are already enough. That is life whispering, and the final lesson of lightness. To 12.3. Rest in the flow. The night unfolds like a thin veil, draping everything in the soft breath of stillness. There is no more noise from the world, only the rhythm of your heartbeat, the whisper of wind, and the quiet sense that the entire universe is breathing with you. Here, there is no what's next, no what must be kept, only movement, unhurried, unresisted. Peace comes when we stop asking life to stay. Peace arrives the moment you stop pleading for life to remain. The lightness you found is not the end of a journey, but the doorway into a new space. One where you stop straining to exist and begin learning how to simply be. Every effort to hold on, every question about meaning, dissolves like smoke in the breeze. Jung once said, "We are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become." In this moment, you are choosing to become stillness, not from weakness, but because you finally understood that silence is the most powerful form of life. Imagine you are a droplet of water leaving the edge of a waterfall. For a moment, there is fear of shattering, of ceasing to exist. But then, a realization. You have not disappeared. You've simply returned to the river, to the ocean, to the whole. The I that once felt separate has merged with everything, and in that merging, you are free. Life itself is a song without a chorus, only notes passing by, forming melody through their impermanence. You cannot hold the sound longer, but you can listen more deeply. You cannot make life pause, but you can live fully in the moment it sings. In the Red Book, Jung wrote, "The soul becomes what it beholds. The soul becomes what it contemplates. If you fix your gaze on the storm, you become the wind. If you turn toward stillness, you become peace." And so, in this moment, you need not seek serenity. You need only to look at it, like gazing upon a calm lake and slowly dissolving into your own reflection. It feels like lying upon water. No swimming, no struggle. The current carries you, and you realize the water never asked you to earn its support. The universe is the same. It has never required you to deserve your existence. It only invites you to soften, to stay, to trust that you already belong. Jung once said, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct." Creation is born not of intellect, but of play. Perhaps life, too, is not a puzzle to solve, but a river to listen to. Sometimes, it is only when you stop trying to swim that the water can finally show you you're already moving in the right direction. Letting go is not departure, it is participation. Rest is not an ending, it is the natural rhythm of life. You have run far, through the corridors of memory, through the layers of self, through the turns of history, only to realize there is nowhere else to go. Every path leads back here, this moment, this breath. This peace feels like music, not the kind made by instruments, but the kind that hums within silence. It has no beginning and no end. It simply exists, like your heartbeat, like the ocean's pulse, like the current flowing through every cell of you. In this rhythm, you are no longer the listener. You are the music itself. Sleep now, not as someone seeking meaning, but as the universe resting within itself. Sleep, not as a seeker, but as the cosmos at rest. You need no more knowledge, no more achievements, no more answers. Because at the deepest level of your being, you already have everything. You only need the stillness to hear it. Your breath slows. Your mind loosens like a string released from tension. Every thought, every memory, every shape of I melts into the fabric of space. There is no boundary between within and without, only one endless current, moving together, in rhythm, in breath. Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The meeting of two souls always transforms them both. And tonight, you have met yourself, not the small self that tried to control, but the vast, quiet, compassionate one you have spent a lifetime returning to. Let the meaning of this night seep into every cell. Do not remember it. Do not analyze it. Just as a raindrop does not need to know why it falls, you do not need to know why you are at peace. Peace does not arise from understanding. It arises from surrender. Outside, the world continues its motion. Cities sleep. Oceans breathe. Stars rearrange themselves. But within you, everything has returned to its rightful orbit, unhurried, unburdened, harmonious. And in this stillness, a new journey begins, not outward, but deeper within. In this stillness, a new journey unfolds, not toward the world, but into the heart of being itself. No map, no destination, only your heartbeat and the quiet trust that you are already on the path. Let this night close like a lullaby from the universe, gentle, forgiving, full of love. You have returned to the flow, to yourself, to the breath of eternity. Now, close your eyes. Do not hold on to this moment. Let it drift. For in the drifting, you will find the only thing that ever remains, absolute peace. Sleep peacefully. The universe is holding you. The night has softened now, like a river that has finally found the sea. You have traveled far, from the weight of memory to the stillness of letting go. Along the way, you have dissolved into the vast ocean of being, watched the illusion of I fade like mist, and learned that even history sleeps when the soul forgives itself. Now, there is only the quiet hum of life breathing through you. No past to carry, no name to defend, no destination to reach. Just the pulse of existence, gentle and infinite. Carl Jung once said, "At the bottom of every transformation lies an act of surrender." Perhaps that is what this moment truly is, not an ending, but a quiet surrender to the flow of what is. Listen closely. The universe is still speaking, not in words, but in silence. Every inhale brings you home. Every exhale releases you deeper into peace. There is no need to chase meaning anymore. Meaning is already here, in the calm between your heartbeats, in the warmth of simply being alive. Soon, another journey will begin, one that moves not outward, but inward, toward the eternal source of all light. But for now, let the night hold you gently. Let your breath slow. Let your soul rest. Sleep deeply. Dream softly. And know you are already home. Good night.